In this video, I will use the Drake Slime from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Fire Red. Drake Slime is the first monster in the original Terry's Wonderland by index number, but he isn't treated kindly in terms of stats or default skills, especially in the remake. For his stats as a Pokémon, I used an average of his original stats and 3DS stats, weighted slightly more in favor of the original. He will have 76 base HP, 63 attack, 58 defense, 76 special attack, 80 special defense, and 70 speed, for a total of 423. This is absolutely pitiful, so he will need a lot of help to have any chance at beating the game. Since the DQM games use lookup tables instead of a formula to calculate stat growth, the rate of which can vary greatly at different levels, the conversion won't be exactly faithful. Also, bigger index numbers don't always mean higher stats. His level-up moves are based on his default Slimer skill set in TW3D, plus a few other moves to fit his theme. The Slimer set is just dreadful, since it doesn't even get a tier 2 spell or a single physical skill. It gets the DQM version of Body Slam, which damages both the user and the target by a percentage of current HP, so it can never score a KO. It's like a Nature's Madness that also damages yourself, and it's only potentially useful in PvP against larger opponents. I will set up a Drake Slime with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature, because I can edit the base stats directly to make adjustments if necessary. He's just a slime pretending to be a dragon, so he obviously won't be a real dragon type. He flies, which means he's getting the generic normal and flying typing. His poor 3DS stats are largely due to the small body trait, which trades 20% of max stats for turn priority. However, as you might have seen in my earlier Harmer run, priority is extremely overpowered in Pokémon, so I gave him Pseudo Dragon Stab as compensation. Boosted moves are in caps. Dragon's Maw is a real Pokémon ability on Regidrago, and it boosts dragon-type damage by 50%. But since the Drake Slime isn't a real dragon, he doesn't get the double stab. EV-wise, max special attack is basically forced, and the rest is split between defense and speed, as he would be too slow and fragile otherwise. Either way, there's only so much you can do when your best stat is only a subpar 80. He levels up at a medium rate in the original DQM games, so I put him in the standard 1 million experience group. This should allow him to learn all his moves, without ending up too overleveled. The early game trainers and wild Pokémon in Gen 1 give abysmal experience, so I still had to grind to reach level 13 for Brock, even after beating the optional rival and all those bug catchers in Viridian Forest. Fortunately, being the first gym leader, his AI isn't very aggressive, and Rock Tomb is just an awful move. Although the ROM patch I'm using has updated most moves to their Gen 5 stats, Rock Tomb wasn't buffed to 60 power and 95% accuracy until Gen 6. Rock Tomb is treated as a speed debuff in this gen, so the AI will stop using it as soon as you become slower, regardless of type affinities. The biggest threat in the second rival battle has always been Sand Attack on his leading Pidgeotto. My stats are pretty poor, and Zap only has 40 base power and no stab, so I had no way to one-shot it. Besides the HP regen passive, the Slimer set is really, really bad. Luckily, I didn't miss too much, and his Abra couldn't attack. Misty Starmie is quite overpowered for this early stage of the game, with 100 special attack and 115 speed, and it has Stab Water Pulse that can confuse. However, the game gives you some of the tools to beat her, in forms of a hidden Persim Berry before Mount Moon, and the TM for secret power. Dazzle Flash doesn't actually do damage in the DQM games, but here I made it a Psychic-type clone of Icy Wind that lowers accuracy instead of speed, because the Drake Slime sorely needs some coverage moves with more than 40 power. Frizz was redundant now as most bugs and grass types are part poison. The rival battle on the ship is just a joke, as his team is so ridiculously underleveled. Although all of his Pokémon have evolved once, those middle stage Pokémon are hardly stronger than their basic forms, and Raticate is just awful. By the way, Meowth is the pickup Pokémon in these games, and pickup is the only way to farm berries before the post-game. They can also pick up rare candies and PP-ups, as well as the TM for hidden power. Surge got a huge nerf from the original Red and Green, and especially Yellow. His Raichu used to have the 95 power Thunderbolt and the 120 power Mega Kick, but it only gets the 60 power Shockwave in the remakes. Maybe they thought it was too strong, but they seem to have forgotten that you can catch a level 29 or 31 Dugtrio right next door. Anyway, I equipped a Cherry Berry for paralysis, since I don't think any of my moves could one-shot the Raichu without a crit. Maybe Secret Power could, as it's physical with stab, but I had poor base attack and no EV in it. I made the Shockwave TM compatible because the Slimer set doesn't even get Zapple, and I gave him Bounce just to have one flying stab move. You'll naturally be overleveled for the rival fight in the tower, due to the number of trainers along the way, most of which are hard to avoid. His Gyarados in the original games had Dragon Rage and Hydro Pump in this battle, as those were its starting moves, and that's probably why they made its level so low. Since there was no breeding or move reminder in Gen 1, many Pokémon didn't learn any new moves until the levels they were first available in the wild, which is why you could have level 35 Pokémon with only 1 or 2 moves. As for Pokémon that weren't available in the wild, they often started with the moves they would learn later on. Erica is one of the easiest gym leaders in the game, since all of her Pokémon are very slow and fragile, with many common weaknesses. Stun Spore can be annoying if it hits, so I equipped a Cherry Berry just in case, considering it was the only way I could lose, but I shouldn't have trouble one-shotting everything on her team anyway. Well, Bounce could miss, and Dragon Breath might not be enough to one-shot the Vileplume, which has pretty decent HP and special defense. Koga's gym brings a huge level spike, but the bikers on the cycling road and trainers in his gym also have many evolved Pokémon that give a lot of experience. Bounce is just a bad move with poor accuracy, so I replaced it with Double Edge for a physical move. There's no way to recreate the DQM version of Body Slam in Pokémon, and even if there was, I wouldn't want to, due to how laughably bad it is. And believe it or not, there's an even worse version of it that brings both the user and target to 1 HP, and it only works on a target of the same size. What's the point of it? I have no idea. Koga has never been very hard, because he has no coverage moves like Flamethrower and Thunderbolt, and his Weezing no longer has Explosion in the remakes. What he can be is annoying, due to Smokescreen and Minimize, as well as Toxic, but thankfully, I picked up a few Pecha Berries, and I still have Dazzle Flash to hit his Pokémon for super effective damage. Also, I have checked the trainer data in the ROM editor, and it's confirmed that, unlike in Emerald, none of the gym leaders in Fire Red and Leaf Green have any EVs on their Pokémon. I think the only trainer with EVs before the Elite Four is the rival, but I have no idea how his EVs are distributed as the editor doesn't show exact stats. Speaking of the rival, the battle against him in Sylph Company has never been hard either, as they nerfed his levels in these remakes. I based Dragon Pulse on its Gen 5 stats to make it consistent with the patch, so it still had 90 base power. But even though, I still couldn't one-shot his Charizard, despite a 16-level lead and Pseudo Stab. Its low HP triggered the Blaze ability, and it has EVs too, which is why its Flamethrower hit so hard. The rest of his team couldn't do much, as they were just too underleveled. The following Giovanni battle was a breeze as well, thanks to the horrible movesets on his Pokémon. Both his Nidorino and Nidoqueen are still using Poison Sting, although Earthquake wouldn't have helped in this battle since I'm immune. Still, they could have given his team some proper moves like Rock Slide, Ice Beam, and Surf. Blaine is one of those gym leaders that could be either a brick wall, or a walk in the park, depending on your typing and the moves you have access to. If you're weak to fire and have nothing that can 1 or 2 shot his Arcanine, for example, something like Cacturne or Mawile, chances are you might have to resort to using Double Team or Rest to PP stall it. If you only have physical moves, he could also be a problem due to his 2 Intimidators. Otherwise, he's hardly a challenge, as Fire isn't a good defensive typing in this gen, and Arcanine looks more intimidating than it really is, especially without EVs or extreme speed. I fought all the trainers in the gym for experience, so I probably should have healed my PP, but it didn't matter since I still had enough uses of Dragon Pulse left to take him down. By the way, I used Suction Cups as my dummy ability, just so I can't be forced out by Roar or Whirlwind. It has no other effects in battle, and it won't mess up the AI. I totally forgot about the Psychic Gym, since it's so out of the way. But as expected, there was nothing Sabrina's team could do, due to how overleveled I was. I guess it's just a problem with allowing the player to do gyms out of order. Giovanni can't do much to a flying type either, and his Nidoking and Queen don't even have Thunder like they did in Yellow. His roster also got a nerf in the remake, as his Rhydon has been replaced by a second Rhyhorn. I guess it's because the rival also gets a Rhydon in the champion battle, but they could have given him or the rival a Golem instead, which isn't used by any in-game trainers as far as I know. Speaking of Yellow, his Dugtrio had Fissure there, and in Gen 1, you only need to be faster to land one-hit KO moves, regardless of the combatant's levels. Dugtrio is one of the fastest Pokémon, but thankfully, the Arena Trap ability didn't exist then. Here's the last rival battle before the Pokémon League, and like always, the biggest threat in a solo run is Sand Attack on his Pidgeot, and Feather Dance if you're a physical attacker. I know it has 0 special defense EV, and my boosted Dragon Pulse was easily able to one-shot it before it could mess up my accuracy. It's stronger than Shockwave after the boost, but I kept Shockwave for the Gyarados. I had nothing that could one-shot his Charizard, and his flamethrower did almost half to me after its blaze boost. This really isn't looking good for the final champion battle, where it has the much stronger fire blast that could easily two-shot me with blaze active. Before going into the Pokémon League, I went to the game corner to buy the TM for Thunderbolt, which I will need for dealing with Lorelei and Lance. It's number 24, and these remakes at least tell you what the TM contains before you make your purchase, unlike in Ruby and Sapphire where you're just expected to know. Here are my stats and moves for the league. Simply put, my stats are dreadful for level 70, and besides Thunderbolt, I have basically zero type coverage, as Dragon is only good against itself. This means I will have to spam Dragon Pulse against everything that Thunderbolt doesn't counter, and save Draco Meteor for the last Pokemon of each member, because the White Herb isn't available yet. Lorelei wasn't too hard, even though I'm weak to Ice, which thankfully isn't a double weakness. I don't know why I was critting so much there, but I'm certainly not complaining. Sleep from her Jinx got a bit annoying, but since Ice Punch is now physical like it should be, it couldn't do much to me, and I could just heal up with Recover. I got super lucky there against the Lapras, surviving its Ice Beam with only 1 health. Ice Shard and Aqua Jet didn't exist until Gen 4, which meant Ice and Water types had no priority moves here, and so I was still able to win. Bruno is the joke member of the Elite Four, with a horrendous team. I don't know why he has 2 Onix, which is one of the worst Pokemon ever and not even a fighting type, when Poliwrath and Primeape sit unused. Sure, there are no good fighting types in Gen 1, but at least Poliwrath can learn a variety of moves like Hypnosis, Hydro Pump, Blizzard and Psychic for utility and coverage. Even Primeape can learn Thunderbolt and Overheat for the surprise factor. Anyway, although I had no setup moves, I did have Recover, so even after losing speed to Scary Face, I wasn't in any real danger since I could just heal myself. Agatha can inflict poison, sleep, and confusion, so a Lum Berry was pretty much forced. Dragon Pulse couldn't one-shot her leading Ganger, but I got a crit after her potion, and another crit on her Arbok. Again, I don't know why I was critting so much. I had to nuke her level 58 Ganger with Draco Meteor to prevent Hypnosis, and the special attack drop didn't matter since her last Pokemon was Haunter. Lance is basically a free win when you have Ice or Dragon type moves, or any setup moves to take advantage of the terrible moveset on his leading Gyarados. It still has Leer for whatever stupid reason, instead of something useful like Thunder Wave or Dragon Dance. But it wouldn't have helped anyway, as it went down easily to a Thunderbolt. I know his Aerodactyl has special defense EV, and that's why Thunderbolt only did about 2/3. But both Ancient Power and Hyper Beam are now special, so it wouldn't have done a lot even if the latter didn't miss. Dragonair are free kills, and I can't lose as long as I don't miss 2 Draco Meteors in a row against the Dragonite, or get hit by a critical outrage, which is now 120 power and physical. The champion battle is going to be a problem, because of my limited damage output and lack of setup moves. I can't one-shot most of his team without using Draco Meteor, and although I can heal myself with Recover, I'm still vulnerable to ailments, debuffs, and crits. Fortunately, his Pidgeot was one-shot by Thunderbolt, so I didn't have to deal with accuracy drops. However, he sent out the Rhydon next, which survived a Dragon Pulse and halved my speed with Scary Face. That was a big problem because it made me slower than the rest of his team. His Alakazam only used Reflect and Future Sight. The latter does not check type affinities or get stabbed in the Gen 3 engine, but his Executor put me to sleep. It only lasted 1 turn, and his Gyarados couldn't do a lot due to its bad moveset, so I was able to heal myself and take it out with Thunderbolt. Since I was now slower than his Charizard, there wasn't much I could do to win, apart from fishing for a crit. I thought Draco Meteor should be able to one-shot it, but it didn't, so maybe I should have used Thunderbolt to not have my special attack. Still, he would heal and get a second hit on me, which I clearly couldn't survive. I just used a couple of rare candies, and hoped that the extra levels would allow me to one-shot the Rhydon with Dragon Pulse. This battle shouldn't be too hard if I had my speed intact. The 2 extra levels certainly helped, and I was indeed able to one-shot his Rhydon. I still couldn't one-shot his Alakazam or Executor, and it got a bit dangerous with sleep, but I was able to wake up in time and heal myself. I was getting tired, so I had a brain fart moment against his Charizard. I should have just used 2 Thunderbolts to take it out, since I was faster and easily able to survive a blaze-boosted Fire Blast on full HP, but I tried to go for a one-shot with Draco Meteor and failed. Recover should only have 10 PP in Gen 5, but I guess the patch didn't change support moves, and even with 10 PP, it was still able to stall out Fire Blast. In conclusion, I guess I cheated a bit by giving the Drake Slime Dragon-type moves and pseudo-stab. But with abysmal stats like those, and a horrendous skill set, there was no way he could beat the game without help, at least not before level 85 or 90. I didn't do it in Emerald because he obviously has zero chance against Steven, even at level 100. Thanks for watching.